The Maryville Town Council for today, Tuesday, January 23rd at 6:35 or so p.m. Let the record show that the RDC meeting is making me late for this meeting. Please stand for our invocation, followed by a moment of silence.
Well, thank you, Lord, for bringing us all here today. Thank you for governing over this council. Help our thoughts and minds be of you before we make decisions. Be with this council, Lord, as they help us move this city forward, this town forward. Lord, be with us all as we make awareness of everything that's going on in our lives in this town. Lord, just be with us today. We love you, and it's with thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Do we have any veterans in the audience tonight? No? Chief Nusis, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. January, would you please call the roll of the council?
Vice President Neal,
Here.
Councilwoman Shauna Haynes Edwards,
Here.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Here.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Here.
Councilman Pettit,
Here.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Here.
President Bella.
Here.
7 present.
7 present, thank you. Moving on tonight to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. Tonight, we're honored to have a declaration of Black History Awareness Month, and that's going to be presented tonight by Carlton Clay from the Maryville High School. And Carlton was named as a 2024 Lilly Scholar. The Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship Program offers students a full tuition scholarship for any public or private school in Indiana. Congratulations.
Thank you. The Town Council of Maryville designating the month of February as Black History Awareness Month. Whereas, although African Americans have been part of the fabric of American life since earliest colonial time, in recognition of their contributions to the making of this great nation were, for generations, ignored, minimized, or consciously suppressed. Whereas born to parents who were former slaves, Dr. Carter G. Woodson spent his childhood working in the coal mines of Kentucky. Enrolled in high school at the age of 20, graduated from high school 2 years later, and went on to earn a doctorate from Harvard University. Whereas in his studies, Dr. Woodson noted the fact that the history books of the day largely ignored Black Americans, except in isolated instances, and those instances served primarily to reflect the inferior social position assigned to the African American community. Whereas, resolving to write Black Americans into the nation's history, Dr. Woodson established the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History in 1915, now known as the Association for the Study of Afro-American Life and History, and founded the Journal of the Negro History in 1916. Whereas, as a result of Dr. Woodson's pioneering work in completing, rather than writing, American history, Americans now have an increased awareness of the contributions of individuals of African American heritage. Whereas in 1926, Dr. Woodson inaugurated the second week of February as Negro History Week as a device to focus national attention on the contributions of Black people throughout our history. Whereas it was appropriate that Negro History Week was expanded to Black History Month in 1976, the year of our nation's bicentennial. Because of the efforts of men and women like Dr. Woodson, Black history is becoming a part of mainstream history and a part of the common heritage of all Americans. Whereas the tapestry of this unique rainbow nation of differing nationalities and ethnic and racial backgrounds is made richer as a result. Whereas the Town Council of Maryville, Indiana, is committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion through the continued educational programs for town employees, practice daily with our pledged and displayed diversities and equity statement, we would like to make the following declaration. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Maryville, Indiana, does hereby declare that each February going forward shall be designated and recognized as Black History Awareness Month, and call upon the citizens of Maryville to observe, discuss, and educate others with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and other activities about the value and contributions of Black Americans have made to the betterment of our nation, state, and more specifically, our hometown of Maryville. Signed by the following Honorable Town of Maryville Town Councilors and attested to by the Honorable Town Clerk Treasurer this 23rd day of January 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the declaration as presented by Mr. Clay.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak with a second by, we're not going to do this again, right? Okay. Okay, by Ms. Chandler Felton. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for reading that. Beautiful job.
Thank you.
Moving on tonight to the Employee of the Month, I'll call on Town Manager Michael Griffin.
Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Clerk Treasurer, thank you. Will the police chief please join me? And will the employee of the month, Michael Bunnell, please join me? Hello, Detective. It's Detective, is it not? It is. Neat, I got that right. Detective Bunnell, first I want to say some words about the work that you do. The work that you do, Chief. The work that all of you who have the badges on and are wearing the uniform of our town, our protectorate. In the language of my faith, there's a line that I particularly love from the letter that Paul of Tarsus, some of us call him Apostle Paul, wrote to the people at Rome. He said, "Make of yourselves a living sacrifice, reasonable and holy, which is your reasonable service. Holy and acceptable, which is your reasonable service." Think about that. I have enough trouble in my faith tradition just living that. It's hard to be a living sacrifice. I want to make it from day to day to do this wonderful job and serve with these wonderful people here. And yet, when you decided to take the oath that you took, the oath that you took, the oath that you all took, in a way, you kind of were saying this, regardless of whatever your faith tradition is at all. You basically have said that you're going to make of yourselves to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep our property, and to keep order in our society. A living sacrifice, holy and acceptable, which is your reasonable service. It seems a little unreasonable sometimes. I know that the council might give voice to this in a different way, but I believe every one of them up there, including the clerk treasurer, says thank you for that. Thank you for being willing to be brave, to do that kind of work. So it is in that spirit. Great first name, by the way, Michael Bunnell. The certificate of recognition recognizes you as our Employee of the Month for January of 2024. And I'm going to ask, please, Chief, if you'll read the rest of the citation.
Detective Bunnell was recently assigned to a serious case and was able to secure charges that led to the apprehension of a dangerous individual. In addition to this type of exemplary work, Detective Bunnell always volunteers to take on more responsibility. He recently completed certification to become an emergency vehicle operations instructor. Awarded this 23rd day of January 2024.
Mr. President, members of the council, please stand.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations, well done. Moving on this evening to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher approval for January 23rd and the approval of the town council meeting minutes of January 9th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit, a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of the consent agenda. Open for discussion. I do want to add that Mr. Griffin had a chance to review the minutes. I know we all got them a bit late at this particular time. I had a chance to review them quickly before the meeting. Michael, anything to add about the minutes? I know you approved them or
Yes,
took a look
Mr.
at them.
President, members of the council, please forbear me that. We're trying to, the timing is on me. I get them in plenty of time from the actual amanuensis. That's a new word for you from Bible study about the person who took down the notes for Paul. So the person who takes down your notes is your amanuensis too, since we're talking about Paul tonight. It's a theme. But I have reviewed them. All I do is I go through them to check for form, and I do believe that they represent the proceedings of the town council from the date of the meeting, and I represent to you that you can faithfully approve them without fear that there's a mistake or a substantive error. And I
Thank you,
thank the
Mike.
President for letting me say that.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Moving on tonight to the special and standing committee reports, Budget and Finance, Counselor Neal. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, for the benefit of the new counselors here, we were working on some ordinance changes with Attorney Svetnoff and his associate. We need to reschedule a committee meeting, Joe, when you and Ricardo can come back. And obviously, members, there are 3 members with me on the Council Affairs, Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Chandler Felton. We would make the recommendations to the council, but all council members are invited and encouraged, so you can see what the ordinance changes are. For example, one ordinance we did last year was removing basketball courts. Kids are using the street, pulling out their basketball hoop, portable hoops, and using the street. That's against the ordinance, and we put some teeth into that. So different things with regard to parking of trailers and parking of boats. So there's a list that Joe and Ricardo have. And Joe, let's you and I pick a time, and I'll have Michael and Linda announce a committee meeting, okay? Sure.
Mr. Pettit, if I can add to that, I did have the police chief and fire chief meet with, it wasn't you, it was Ricardo, because there were several ordinances they also had about public safety they wanted to review.
Right.
So I'm not sure where we are exactly. Chief, do you know in the process where we are?
It's being worked on.
Okay. So can you add those, please, Joe, to the entire committee then?
And also parking in front of mailboxes.
Yes.
We have a
I think
problem
we
with
started
that.
with that one, Mar. We had that one
That's-
before, I think.
Well, it never went
In
through.
place,
Yeah,
it's hard to.
yeah, there
I
were-
was- I was pushing.
There were some holdovers from last year, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Street Department, Mrs. Uselak.
Oh, I have no report as of yet. The plows have been out there, and I noticed the people are not parking on the street, which is good. So that's the only report that I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Elections, Public Relations, and Town Beautification, Counselor Neal.
You know what, I'll have no report for this one, I'll save it for the next one.
Oh, okay,
I'll sum it up in one.
no problem. Environmental Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Ms. Hardaway.
The committee will meet to discuss and review resumes that have come in for the Parks Director. We will have a meeting next week to review those. That is all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Have we gotten
What
quite a
date?
few? Oh, sorry.
What date did you want the meeting?
Probably Tuesday. I'll let you know.
Make sure we have a meeting on Tuesday, don't we?
Yes, we do have a, we do
We
have a
have a
plan.
meeting on
We have the
Tuesday.
Joint Plan Commission, BZA, Town Council for the comprehensive plan on Tuesday, the 3rd, I
Right.
believe. Yeah, good catch, Mark.
Good catch.
Well, I just try to memorize the dates when I have the meeting.
Have we been receiving quite a few resumes?
Yes, at this time, we have 13 resumes.
Okay.
How
great.
many actually applied?
Over 40,
Over 40?
over 40.
And who picked out the 13?
The HR department.
Okay. Now, what happens if we want to look at the other resumes too?
I'm sure you are privy to those. so
Yes.
all you have to
Very
do is
good.
make a request.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Public Safety, Counselor Hardaway.
I spoke with Chief Nueces and Chief Yerga. We are going to meet, thank you, Mrs. Neal, for reminding me about the emergency action plan. They have availability, and they have extended me their availability, so I will coordinate calendars, and we will meet next week.
Okay. Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, briefly, we had a redevelopment commission meeting prior to this. We elected officers. I want to thank the ladies for their support. I was elected president. Leona Chandler Felton was elected vice president, and Keisha Hardaway was elected secretary. We will be having a redevelopment commission workshop from 5 to 6:30 on Tuesday, February 6th. Our advisors, Tom Pittman and Bob Swentz, will be up to update the new members on the activities that the RDC has been undertaking over the years. So that's all.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Mrs. Uzelak.
Well, actually, I do not have a report. We're going to elect a new park director, but the parks have been in real good condition since they've been taken care of by the town, and so that's about it with the parks at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Abandoned Blighted Properties, Counselor Haynes Edwards.
No report at this time.
Utility Liaison, Ms. Leona Felton.
I'm sorry, I don't have a report at this
Oh,
time.
that's fine. Special Town Projects, Counselor Neal.
Thank you, President. I can give my full report.
I'm looking forward to it.
So we are planning our, what is now going to be our annual Black History Program. The target date is February the 23rd, 2024, from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Dean and Barber Community Center. We are getting all of the publications and everything and information out about that, so stay tuned. Look forward to seeing that information. And also, we have narrowed our town slogan down to 5 of the submitted entries, and those are going out probably, I would say maybe tomorrow. I'll check with Chaz and see. Those are going out to the community in the same manner that we did the Decorate the Home, to allow the citizens to vote on the town slogan. So we're gonna let that ad run, we're gonna let that campaign rather run for up to 3 weeks before we close it down, and then we'll have a new town slogan.
Great.
And
great.
that's all, that's my report.
Oh, when do they pick for the slogan of the town?
About 3 weeks, you said.
3 weeks span.
Oh, did you announce that date? I didn't hear it.
It should come, the Chaz should have have it up on the site running by tomorrow, and it'll start actually tomorrow, and they can go onto the site, on the Facebook page, and they can vote the same way they voted for the home decorating.
Okay,
And we're gonna go with the top, the one with the highest number of votes.
thank you.
We received a little bit over 40 slogans, and we narrowed it down to about 5.
Got quite a few, actually.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
really
with
impressed.
some
Right.
very nice ones.
Yeah, very good.
I do have a question, Mr. President, though, for Mrs. Neal. Rhonda, we had talked, and I don't know where we landed with this, Steve, about new signage in town. And we wanted to replace the Welcome to Maryville and maybe the park signs. As the slogan, we plan on incorporating the slogan into the welcome signs, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Neal. Moving on tonight to Department and Commission reports. Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, I understand that Ms. Hardaway went to her first meeting.
I did attend my first meeting. That was the first meeting of the year. The gavel was exchanged. So it was a bittersweet moment as I saw my father exchange the gavel to the new chairman. There are some projects under works over in the Portage, Chesterton area. Not fully aware of what's going on yet. I'm still learning, so
Sure.
I'll have a better report next time, Mr. President.
Well, when you bring the checks in, as you will, please give them to Mr. January for deposit.
Will do.
Stormwater Management Resources, Director Matt Lake.
Yeah, really quick, our Stormwater Management Board approved engineering and design and permitting for Country Club Second Edition subdivision and Country Club Unit A. This is subdivision north of 61st, east of Taft Street. This will be for redesign of all the infrastructure, stormwater related, that's within the right-of-way. And this is an older subdivision, like a lot of the older subdivisions. We're trying to go back, redesign, and then move towards construction, and hopefully get more federal dollars coming our way so we can fund the construction of a lot of these projects. But we want to be shovel-ready as much as possible as we go. Had a pre-con meeting last Friday with Grimmer Construction. They got their construction scheduling all set, but a lot is going to hinge on materials and things like that, so they're ordering everything to take care of the project over there at East 69th and Connecticut Street. So they're unleashed to go ahead and start working. So when they start, it'll be noticed. They'll inform the property owners around there, so that's part of it's the public outreach in the area, and let everybody know what's going on. Homer Tree Services wrapping up their risk tree removal in Turkey Creek for Phase 2. Still a lot of trees remaining, so I'd like to approach ARP committee about an additional phase out there to get more of the trees out. It's been well received, have a lot of requests from residents, so that's something that has been very positive and very effective. VS Engineering completed a drainage street analysis for Hendricks. And this is an area north of 73rd between Turkey Creek and the railroad. So there's been long-standing drainage issues over there. So they did some initial survey work. They got some plan and profile sheets, and they presented that. We're going to do some follow-up meetings with some of the agricultural landowners around there, make sure we pick up all the farm drainage tiles and try and hook that into the design of the new system. And that's all I have.
Great. Matt, do you recall back in 2020, Mrs. Uselak and I challenged you to plant 500 trees in the town of Maryville? Have we surpassed that?
Yeah, we got requests for more, actually,
Okay.
and we've got more coming. We got a company in town, Siltworm. Joe Moore is a founder and co-owner of the company, and he wants to donate 1,000 saplings to the town of Maryville. We'll have to find a place to plant those.
Wow.
We've had several requests in from, actually, the apple orchard is another project that I haven't really mentioned, but we'll have about 300 trees being planted this year, in some in Rosenbaum Park and others by Rosen Center for a town orchard. So that'll be a special project. That's part of a USDA Forest Service grant that we applied for in partnership with the Delta Institute. And then we've received trees from NIPSCO, which we got several out here in the back in our own nursery, in fact. So we'll have to figure out how to get those in the ground in public spaces, or if we're going to offer some kind of a program to the public, work like a public-private partnership to where if they plant them, we can, in a proper place, and if it benefits the town, we can offer some kind of a program that way. So that'll be up to you guys if you want to come up with something creative with regards to that. But yeah, we're going to continue onward. You know, as these trees serve their purpose, the replenishment portion of it is very important. So the first thing is to avert any risk. Next is to replenish, and we've done kind of both simultaneously. So it's part of just urban forest management.
Some of our older neighborhoods, I see a resident here from Sedona, actually. Some of their trees are so old, they've overgrown their location, basically. Can some of these trees replace those? Because they're just huge.
Sure, yeah.
And they're encroaching on each other and on homeowners' property, which is not good.
And Sedona in particular, some of the trees at that time, they didn't know about, you know, Bradford Paris, which is not a tree that you would plant nowadays because it's an inferior cultivar, because it gets included bark and they tend to split out during storms. So yeah, certainly some of those trees back here can be for that replenishment. And again, we're not done here. We're going to keep rolling along and get more and more reestablished in the town.
Thank you, Matt.
Mr.
Now,
President?
what about the dead trees? Do you cut them down or look into that?
Yeah, we're on our third entire subdivision of risk tree removal.
Okay,
And so we've been aggressively, and a lot of these are old silver maples. I could show you a lot of pictures, and you can see them out there at Turkey Creek. They're hollow inside.
now I have complaints from people on 73rd Place in Maryville, Southbrook. Maybe
Okay.
you could look into that.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, for the benefit of the new members, Matt, do you want to give a thumbnail? Ladies, we do have a stormwater management plan, and without a doubt, and I don't say this lightly, this man right here is the best stormwater director in the state of Indiana, hands down. And I think everybody agrees with me on that. Matt, can you go through, so they know, because obviously all 7 of us have got the same problems. Road paving, and when it rains, where's the water? We get drainage calls. You know, they think we can stop the rain. I don't know if you guys have gotten those calls yet, but they think the council can stop the rain. So when did we do our master plan, Matt?
Our master plan, we completed in 2014, and it has over $25 million worth of drainage projects associated with it. We've done a lot of them already, and some we've done in partnership with new development as it comes in, because we've studied these areas. We did 9 hydraulic studies throughout the town, and we're able to identify, roadway overtopping areas, which we've alleviated a lot of that, areas for regional storage, areas where conveyance, there's issues with conveyance and getting to the tributaries and the receiving waters. And so there's a lot that goes into it, and at any time, if you guys want to come in, I could certainly do a presentation or whatever you want and kind of give you a Stormwater 101 orientation, if you would like.
Make sure you.
Water goes downhill, right, Matt?
Everything goes downhill these days.
I will advise the counselors, the new counselors, to pack a lunch, because once Matt gets going, he's going to talk.
That's what he do.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you.
Police Chief Nusis.
I don't have anything to report other than we will be hosting our Women's Self-Defense class, and it's going to be taking place on March 21st between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., and it's going to be at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. So we welcome any woman that wants to come out and participate and get a little bit of an idea on how to defend yourself, get away, and keep yourself safe.
Is there a charge for that?
That's what I was going to ask.
No, sorry?
Is there a
Is there a
charge?
charge?
No, there's not going to be a charge.
There's no charge. And would you mind, Chief, getting with Chaz so we can properly advertise that and get the word out?
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Chief, does that involve lessons on guns, shooting of the gun?
No,
I just wondered about that.
no, basically what it's going to cover is going to be self-defense. If somebody comes across you, tries to grab you, how to get away. The idea is learn just enough to get yourself to a safe spot. Of course, we're not trying to make UFC fighters out of anybody, but we're just going to give them the basic tools on
black
how to
belts,
get away and survive.
No black belt.
And Chief, what's the age range? What age are you starting with?
Anybody over 18.
18 and up? Okay.
How many people will be able to be in there?
That's, I'm not sure.
We might pack the house.
We might.
So open until full?
Yep.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you, Chief. Planning and Building, Ms. Shine.
Yes, I would like to report that I have a meeting once a month with the owner. He flies in from New York, the owner of the Hickory Ridge Lake Apartments. He was here today. He has completed interior remodels on 2 buildings. He had pictures on his phone, but he didn't know how to send them to me. He's going to send them to me when he gets back to New York. But he's going to arrange a walkthrough for the council to see what he promised me, that he would be able to turn this around. And he has paved the parking lot, put a new sign up. He's changed the lighting on all the apartment buildings, and he's met with all the tenants out there, and if they had problems, he fixed the problems, or he moved them to another apartment. So Mr. Weisberg is one of the owner, and he's done a wonderful job in turning that property around. And I told him today, he said, well, do I still have to come once a month? I said, yes. We got to make sure we get them all going back. But he flies in once a month. He came in today and had the electric paid to have the electric NIPSCO requires a reconnect fee before they'll connect the electric, but he paid for 2 whole buildings to have the electric turned back on. So hats off to Joshua Weisberg and his, he done an excellent job. He was even able, Chief, to make the fire inspector happy. So
Sheila, does he represent a corporation?
I don't know. All I know is when the chief and I were meeting with them, it's two of them. Joshua and his partner,
Kiva Dorfman.
Kiva Dorfman, yes.
Just like, if I can add, Sheila, they've also installed, I believe, 180 cameras in there, I believe he said.
Mhm.
And they're paying the garbage bill, right?
Yes, they are paying the garbage bill.
So there's only 2 owners listed that you know of?
That the
That you
chief and
dealt
I,
with.
those are the 2 that we met with during the transition.
Okay.
So we can't say if
Might
they
be
are the
investment
only owners.
Management group.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
management group.
they're probably in management. It's got to be some type of corporation, I think.
The Nomad Group, I believe.
My opinion.
Yes, I don't,
Yeah.
but they did an excellent job.
Okay, thank
That
you.
is really great news. Thank you, Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. King, Street Department.
So we've been extremely busy with the snow and ice. We prepared for the ice yesterday. We salted really heavy before we went home last night. We had a couple slick spots this morning, but overall, things were pretty good. Other than that, we're replacing, just trying to maintain the trucks, keep the trucks going. The snow and ice takes its wear and tear on them. We got a good group that's been diligently keeping the trucks running here for the winter operations. We've also been out replacing a lot of street signs, stop signs, light poles that have people just run over. That's been a common thing lately. So we're every day we're putting up signs everywhere that people are just running over. But other than that, that's all I got. It's been busy.
Steve, are you still short-staffed? And where
Yeah.
are we in the process?
We're down 1 employee. We're short by 1. We have the, HR has, applications in.
Okay.
And, hopefully maybe we can interview, maybe late next week, but we're only down 1.
Counselor
Steve, I
Hardaway,
thought
is that
you were
going to be it?
hiring 2. You were looking for 2.
Well, we were, but we were, but we only need 1. And also too, I want to mention, I haven't seen our budget, it hasn't come out yet, but we asked for 2 additional employees.
Yes, you did.
For this year. I don't know if that got put in our budget or not, but
And
we'll be
they are
interviewing more,
supposed to have a
hopefully.
CDL?
Yeah, well, if you don't have a CDL, we do CDL training in-house.
Good.
You don't have to have one to apply for the job. It's preferred, but you don't have to. We do all in-house training. And it's we've trained probably, 7 people since we started doing it in-house, and they've all passed their tests with flying colors, and it's worked out really well.
Do you issue the CDL license, or do they have to go elsewhere?
The BMV will actually issue the license. We do in-house training. We track it on a BMV website. We track their time, their progress.
Sure.
And then when this all goes to the BMV, and when they go to take their test, their driving test, they can, just put their driver's information in, their record comes up with all their, with everything they've done, and then they go from there.
Good. Thank you, Steve.
So,
Great, thank you. Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Clerk Treasurer. I did issue to all of you by email as well as a hand-delivered copy to your stations on the dais. Rather than me have to give you a summary verbally, those are there for you to read. This is our compilation report for the newest members of council. Section 2.2-39.1 requires that there be a monthly staff report from the department heads that is presented to the council. We decided that the way that we can comply, I present a report at your first meeting of each month that largely deals with town administration, and then the report that you have for me tonight is really a compilation from all the departments. I call it the 3 bullet point. Some people give me more bullet points than others, and some are longer than others. But I do hope that you'll review it. It is a nice summary, and so many people had so much to say to you. I think it's much better that I leave those with you unless there's a direct question you have of me tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Moving on tonight to general orders, we have no first reading ordinances, but we do have two second reading ordinances. I can actually call them a third reading, because at the last meeting, myself and Counselor Svetnov, and Mr. Pettit, and Sheila Shine, and Michael Griffin, we all forgot to ask for public comment
Yes.
when we did these on second
And
reading.
Attorney Anderson.
And Attorney Anderson. So we're going to do it again and do it properly so that we do it the right way. And I apologize for not doing that. Our last meeting was, as you guys know, very heavy with business stuff, and it just escaped my mind. So on second reading tonight, ordinance 23-34. It's a ordinance to the town of Maryville providing the zoning ordinance of the town of Maryville, amending and changing, establishing a C3 highway commercial zoning district and a R2 residential zoning district to a PUD, which is a planned unit development zoning classification. Ms. Shine, anything else to add?
No, sir.
Mr. Anderson, anything to add?
No, this is for the other than just that, this is for the property at 7300 East Lincoln Highway.
Thank you for that clarity. It's correct. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Uzelak. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Neal. Open for public comment. Is there any public comment tonight on ordinance 23-34? Seeing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Mr. Clerk Treasurer, I'm going to abstain due to a fiduciary conflict of interest on this property.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella. Yes.
6 in favor, 1 abstain.
6 in favor, 1 abstention, and motion carries. 6-0-1. Thank you. Moving on tonight to ordinance 23-35. It's a very similar ordinance, different address, providing that the zoning ordinance of the town of Maryville, Lake County, Indiana, be amended and changed, changing the established C3 highway commercial zoning district to a PUD, planned unit development zoning classification. Ms. Shine, anything to add?
No, sir. This is at 1215 West Lincoln Highway.
Motion to approve, Mr. President, ordinance 2335.
Motion by Mr. Pettit,
Second.
second by Mrs. Uselak for approval on second reading, ordinance 23-35. Anything to add, Mr. Anderson?
Nothing other than that this is the PUD with the office building in the front, and then because it's the shape of the property is very long and narrow, and then the self-storage in the rear.
Thank you. Is there any public comment in reference to ordinance 23-35? Is there any public comment tonight? Seeing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella,
Yes.
7 in favor.
7-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, and sorry again for the inconvenience.
No problem.
We just want to make sure we do things correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have no resolutions tonight. We do have an American Rescue Plan voucher register summary for ARP purchases for January 23rd. The amount is $1,656.25.
Mr. President, with your leave, we haven't had a chance for the ARP board to meet, but I have reviewed these and I find them to be consistent with the purposes of the money. So the only issue is a policy choice by the council, but these are consistent with both the plan that was adopted by the council and the purposes that were in the most recent Treasury guidance for that money.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
Are you saying that's our balance?
No, this is a charge. We need to approve these. These are for payroll for the front security guards.
Oh, for payroll.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
We have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of the ARP accounts payable voucher. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you all. We have no BZA or large gathering actions, is that right, Ms. Shine?
No, there are no actions this evening.
Is there any old business before us? Is there any new business before us? Moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? If so, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes for comments. Seeing no public comment this evening, we have an announcement of a town council meeting on February 13th. Mr. Pettit, would you like to announce your other meetings that you took care of tonight, too?
Yes, the RDC workshop will be February 6th at 5 o'clock. And, Mr. President, I have on my calendar next Tuesday, we have a joint meeting of the Council, BZA, and Plan Commission from 5 to 7 on the comprehensive plan.
You know what we do, and if I can call on either Ms. Shine or Mr. Griffin, there's a few meetings in a row set, right, for next week?
Yes, there is the one for the steering committee, and then there's one for the momentum committee. The one for the steering committee is the 29th. And it's either, Mr. President, going to be a breakfast meeting before the steering committee goes to work, or evening, which Mr. Griffin and I haven't worked out yet.
Okay, so we'll be getting some information on that coming up.
Yes,
Okay.
and I talked with the RDG. Friday, they're going to give me a preliminary, some preliminary information so that I can get to the council, the BZA, and the steering committee, and the plan commission.
Okay.
Sheila, what was that breakfast meeting? Could you repeat that, please?
That's the steering committee.
A what
That was
committee?
The steering committee that was put together with the comprehensive plan. That's a group of individuals from the business community. Business community is on there, the school board, and that's the steering committee.
Okay, that's
then
regarding the master plan, too?
Yes.
Okay, and when is that meeting?
It's going to be on the 29th, and it's going to either be a breakfast or after-work meeting, depending on what's most convenient for the members of that committee.
January 29th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You'll send notice out. on
We
that.
will.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Having no other business before us this evening, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.